reason why I decided to join Sinn Féin. So I'd like to appeal to anyone that is here tonight who, like me, might be thinking, will I or won't I, to take the steps that I did back in June 2003 and to get involved with the party and to get involved with us here locally. You'd be all very, very welcome. And finally, on behalf of the members, our supporters and Republicans of Carlow and Kilkenny, I would like to say a very sincere thank you to our comrade, our hero and our leader for all his work and his lifelong commitment to the Republican struggle. It is an honour to have him here in Kilkenny as one of his last appearances of the Uachtaráin Sinn Féin, and I would like everyone to please be upstanding and give a warm Republican welcome to Mr. Gerry Adams.
Bei Lefsha agus mar dúirt lia sceapta mór mar seo aicáil ar an ihe dúir an arfach mar dúirt si bei lá féile bríd an mar first day of spring, it's tomorrow, lá féile bríd, so bannachtaí ní bríd déise bular. I want to, of course, anything else, just especially welcome on the Gladney here tonight. But a wee note here, I was told that you'd taken a heart attack, and a wee note here, so it's delighted to see you when you walked in earlier on. Fair play, comrade. Comrade Sasha Margaret May Leah, August Kathleen, August Jim. And that wasn't me, Kathleen, got out of the car that day. So, Hussey me an lá ag Stormont. I started today at Stormont very early this morning with Arlene Foster and our friends. And Michelle O'Neill and Mary MacDonald joined us in the afternoon. We tried to sort things out, and we haven't quite done that yet. But on the way down the road with Richard, there was ferocious snow on the border, and I blamed Brexit. Really heavy snow. And then as we got farther down, the skies started to become blue and things evened out a wee bit. But look, as Kathleen has said, this is one of the last gigs that I'm doing as Uachtaráin Sinn Féin, and I'm delighted to be here to talk to Republicans from Carlow and Kilkenny, to thank you all for your commitment, to invite any of you who aren't active to join the party. And in 10 years' time, we have a special Ardèche on February the 10th up in Dublin, and Sinn Féin will elect a new Uachtaráin, and the new last Uachtaráin, Mary MacDonald and Michelle O'Neill. To strong, independently minded women leading a growing and increasingly stronger Sinn Féin party. And we have grown considerably in recent years, and some of you, see Kevin, or some of you who've been around for a while will know and will have seen here in this area, because it's the same throughout most of the island, with very able, articulate teams of local activists, with a very able team of elected Teachtadála in the Oireachtas, in local government right across all 32 counties, in the Assembly, at Westminster and in the European Parliament. And here also, we have an exemplary group, a cadre of local councillors. And this area has a proud Republican tradition from James Stephens, from the Fenians, through to Thomas MacDonagh, who was one of the signatories, you'll all know, of the proclamation, and he was linked to Kilkenny by his time teaching here at St. Kieran's College. And in more recent years, if you just glance back in 2009, we took no council seats in Carlow, and we took 2% of the vote. 5 years later, we won 3 seats, with almost 17% of the vote. In Kilkenny, in 2009, we won no seats. We took 4% of the vote. 5 years later, again, we took 3 seats and took 12.5% of the vote. And then in 2016, when I was here, it was in this very room that we fought or launched a number of campaigns. Kathleen Function won 8,700 votes and 12.4% of the vote in this constituency. So Sinn Féin is growing here as it's growing everywhere else, and Kathleen is part of a tide of Republican women who lead from the front, who take on the political establishment every single day, and she's doing great work as a TD for the people here and as our education spokesperson in the Dáil. And I know that the front line of any organisation like ours are the councillors. So in both these county councils, I just want to thank our 5 councillors. I want to thank every single person here who's worked for our party, as Kathleen did earlier. And I also want to commend the work that Leah has done. We sent the largest team of MEPs from Ireland, from all 32 counties, to the European Parliament, and they have played a leadership role on social issues and economic issues and the national question, and also and particularly on the issue of Brexit and the issue of Leah. Leah has done tremendous work for workers' rights and particularly for rural communities and for coastal communities. So a big bull of us for all of your local representatives. And I say that because sometimes it can be a very lonely job being an elected representative. That you're expected to be everywhere, you're expected to know everything, you're expected to do everything, you're expected to get everything sorted out, and we don't all the time appreciate the type of burden that is for families, and also just to show an appreciation for the comrades who are doing this. Now, none of that would have happened. None of those gains here or across the island would have happened if it wasn't for those people who come out and voted for us, and those people who come out and worked to motivate them to come out and vote for us. And of course, a lot of it has to do with local issues, because we want to change for the good the conditions in which people live. We don't think it's fair that people should be homeless. We don't think it's fair that people should end up in hospital trolleys or end up not being able to get a process or a procedure. We don't think it's fair that because you're born with a disability, or you have an accident, or you have a child who has a disability, that they should be treated like second-class citizens. So we want to change all of that. But we also believe that in this state, the type of society that has been constructed over the last almost 100 years is not the society envisaged in the 1916 proclamation. And that's the essence of the difference between Sinn Féin and these other political parties. We believe in citizenship, and we believe that if you're born in this island, you're born anywhere in the world in fact, that you have rights, and that those rights should be obvious and built into and be part of the fabric of society. So it isn't enough just to build a political party. It's what you do with that political party. It's how you use the political strength that you have developed, which is the measurement of how successful you will be. There have been other parties that are bigger than us at this moment. They've been in government more times than us. But what have they done in terms of these big issues? So we can only measure how we get on, how successful we are, by the changes that we have brought about. And building that strength and using that strength is crucial to achieving our political objectives. We also have to be, as a political party, a cadre of comrades and a fraternal association, and we can't just be Republicans when we're on television or when we're knocking people's doors. We have to be Republicans in our everyday lives as well, and we have to maintain national cohesion and have an organisation which is fit for purpose and well trained and well able for the task. And one of the big things, and I alluded to this in my opening remarks, was that we spent the early part of the day at Stormont and all day yesterday, forget what day this is Wednesday, and all Monday, trying to make sense of the current difficulties in the north. So that might seem a wee bit distant here from Kilkenny, but part of what we have to do is to build a harmonious relationship with our unionist neighbours in the north. And there are many challenges, there are many difficulties. It won't be easy, and it hasn't been easy. Martin McGuinness led from the front. People really appreciate the work that he did, and particularly since his death, we just get some sense of the contribution that that guy made in terms of trying to bring things together. Well, we have to, in our own little way, try to emulate what Martin did and try to make our own contribution to creating harmony. And for me, the challenge is, how do we eradicate poverty? How do we do that? Well, the first assumption you have to make is that you can eradicate poverty. If you think you can't eradicate poverty, if you think that it's fair that somebody when they get old should be cast to one side or live a lonely life or not be able to get a home help or not have the happiness that everybody deserves, if you don't think that's possible, then you're at the wrong game. This is the ninth most wealthy state in the world. This state that we live in. It has some of the worst hospital and health services in any modern society that you could think of. And it isn't through any want of throwing money at it. It's because they see the creation of a health service and the maintenance of a health service as being for profit. As being for profit. Anybody here, if you follow where the money goes, will see it's going into private nursing homes. We'll see it's going into consultants. We'll see it's going into the private sector. Everybody here is bound to have had the experience of knowing someone who's been told, well, if you want that operation, it might take 18 months. But if you go private, we can have sorted out in 2 or 3 weeks. And then if you have someone with a profound, we're doing some work, it actually breaks my heart to tell you the truth, for some young people who have very profound intellectual disabilities and difficulties. And 1 or 2 youngsters who are terminally ill and have life-altering terminal illnesses. There's no profit in that. I mean, the private nursing homes, the people who are in it for profit, they go for the most simple cases. Cases that don't deserve or don't need or don't require the type of attention that these kids need. And that's how you measure society in my book. It isn't about how many millionaires we have. It isn't about how long you have to sit in traffic in Dublin to get into your job if you're looking up to have a job. It's about how you treat the most vulnerable, the most fragile people in that society. Do you believe that we can build equality? I believe we can build equality. That's the kernel, the actual kernel, the core of Irish republicanism. That people have to be treated on the basis of equality. It's Conradúis, Leah, Tashigohan Leitha. Leah is a native speaker. She's very, very, very fluent. But the way to start to learn Irish is to use the Irish that you have. It's dead simple. It's dead simple, even if it's only slang or sláinte. Well, imagine saying cheers. And what part of Ireland are you from? So I would just, it's possible, it is possible All other people have been able to completely regrow and regenerate their own native language. People sometimes in more dire straits than we have been. And remember, if you would, and I return to this topic nearly every time I speak, no matter how difficult we may have thought it was after the crash, or thought it was in the 50s or the 80s, nothing was worse than it was after the Great Hunger. Nothing could have been worse. And an odd time I travelled to the Middle East and to the Palestinian territories and so on, and Richard and I were in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip. And I reflected to myself, that's what Ireland must have been like back in the penal days, or back post the Great Hunger. But even at those times when our population was halved, when people were down on hillsides and streets and in fields and in back lanes, when the dead couldn't even be buried, when we had nothing, even then a small group of people within 30 or 40, 50 years of that had the vision to see that another Ireland was possible. That even in those desperate times, that another Ireland was capable of being constructed. And I think that's what we need, just that spirit. I mean, God bless Carlow, and I'm from Antrim, but the Cats could never have become the hurling team that they became if they didn't believe that they could be the hurling team that they became. You have to have the belief. So my strong view is that these big challenges of resolving the housing crisis, of dealing with the crisis in health, of dealing with sectarianism in the north, of reversing the abandonment of people in rural Ireland, the closure of the Garda stations, of the rural schools, of post offices. All those things are possible if people increasingly take responsibility and decide to make a difference in reversing those issues. We have brought forward a rural equality bill. We've argued that all legislation and all regulation should be rural proofed. As a political party, we've put forward a 10-year plan for ourselves. Right? Now, none of us can envisage where we're going to be in 10 years. That's fair enough. But we can envisage where we might be in 1 year. We can envisage where we might be after the next election. We envisaged before the last election where we would be today, because we've just finished our last 10-year plan. So a lot of our membership, and everybody here isn't a member of Sinn Féin, we're part of formulating that 10-year plan. So all of these things are doable if people have a sense of their own power, if people have a confidence in themselves. I have worked at different times very, very close up to governments, and it's scary. It's scary, the embassies that we put in to take responsibilities for decisions for our lives, particularly in terms of the and I have never been in a meeting yet, never, of ordinary people, of people who have life experience, of people who want to make change, that those people don't have the answers to the problems. I'm sure if we picked out any subject here, before we were finished here tonight, we would have the answer to that particular problem. Because a lot of it's very, very straightforward. And a lot of it has to be based upon those concepts. If you believe that people have rights, then the challenge is to make those rights a reality. And to get other people of like mind to join you in doing that. Good Friday Agreement, it's 20 years old in April. There is part of that agreement which says that the British government and the Irish government must call a referendum on Irish unity, and that if the people vote for Irish unity, then the Brits have to leave. So it's very straightforward in terms of what is required. It isn't so straightforward in terms of achieving it. I don't for a moment minimise that challenge. But that's the way forward, that's the way that we need to be carving out, setting ourselves as an objective, the winning of the right to that referendum, and of course, doing the work to win the referendum when we get it. We also need to be able to critically analyse what these other parties are doing. I mean, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are opposite sides of the one coin. They may have slightly different tendencies in terms of different aspects of the national question. And a lot of the people, obviously, who vote for them are people like ourselves, just ordinary people who vote for them. But they're the parties which are champions of austerity. They're the parties which have presided over this state since it was conceived, since the counter-revolution partitioned the island. And you saw last year the great pride. You should recall how the government, when it set out its image and its vision for the celebration of the 1916 Rising, didn't even mention the signatories. Remember the first video that they put up? And then they had to withdraw it because people were so annoyed and so outraged. And the government was actually forced to have a much more fulsome celebration of 1916 than it initially intended. But the big thing about 1916 and the centenary was the number of people who turned out, because they were proud. Because they were proud of what happened in their neighbourhood or their parish or their county, and they were proud of the men and women who went out against the biggest empire in the history of the world. And the most important part of 1916, of course, the courage of the men and women, of course, their tenacity, of course, their vision. The most important part is the 1916 proclamation. Because the 1916 proclamation is as valid and as applicable today as it was 100 years ago. That's where our party draws our core values. Because to repeat what I said earlier, it's about rights. And those rights are as needed now as they were then. And all of our strategies, all of our efforts, all of our work, all of our campaigning, all of our discussions, all have to be about developing ways and means of making those objectives something which we can actually achieve in our own time. We have argued in Leinster House for the Oireachtas to put in place an all-party committee to explore, to debate, to discuss, to challenge, to plan a new agreed Ireland. One of the consequences of Brexit is that people value the fact that the border is still there, and of course the Brits still claim jurisdiction, but it's almost invisible, and certainly it has very little economic interruption in the lives of people north and south. But as Leah has said, if we have the return of a European frontier on the island of Ireland, there's nothing else going to come off it except a hard economic border. And that has had the consequence of people appreciating the need to do away with the border. The Irish government says no, they will not set up an Oireachtas committee. Myself and Pierce Doherty met the leader of Fianna Fáil, Micheál Martin, and asked him would he be part of such a committee. He also said no. So what's the rationale to that? These two parties, which are constitutionally obliged to bring about Irish unity, refuse even to establish a forum of elected Choctawdally and Shanadori to discuss that and to reach out and to plan in the way ahead. So we intend to keep pressing ahead with that, and we intend to we can establish an ad hoc committee, or at least we can get people of like mind to establish an ad hoc committee, and we intend to do that quite soon. We also, at our last RDS, took a very important decision, and that is we took a decision which is really us saying to everybody, we're prepared to go into government here in the South on Republican terms after the next election if we get a mandate to do that. In other words, we're looking for a mandate here in this state to go in to government. We're setting down a very, very clear marker. And of course, our Republican programme for government would have to include all of those social and economic injustices being reversed that I mentioned earlier and that are part of all of your lives. But it also has to include the demand for that referendum to be held, and for that referendum to be held in the significantly close future. We've been arguing for it to be done in the next 5 years. So, Sinn Féin, I'm delighted to be here. I'm glad to see so many people who I've met up and down here over a very, very long time. And I suppose if I was to summarise what I'm trying to say here in terms of these big issues, that it starts with every one of us. It starts with us. It starts with us having a belief in ourselves as individuals and in the person in the next seat to us. And we can't all be Martin McGuinnesses. We can't all be Leahs or Kathleen's or Jim's. We can just be ourselves. So my granny used to say, do your best, and your best can do no better. That's all we need people to do. Do your best. My best mightn't be as good as her best, but it was my best. And you know yourselves if you're interested in hurling or football or cricket. Go out there and give it 100%. And if you've given 100%, then you've nothing to be ashamed of. So whatever your 100% is, I would ask you in the time ahead to do your very, very, very best in your own circumstance, in terms of your own family and your own shortcomings, your own difficulties, your own responsibilities. Because the more people do a wee bit, less it falls upon a minority to do the big bits. The more people building a mass movement, building a movement for change, the more people are involved in it, and the more we're embracing those people, not setting down obstacles or restrictions or backstabbing them or just embracing them on the basis that we're all in this together. So that's what we want to do. One of the privileges of the job I do is that I meet so many people who are real champions, and they never see themselves as that. I meet so many people who are real heroes, who despite everything that life throws at them, who despite all the stress in their lives, the difficulties, they still come up smiling. They still face every morning and get out at it and look after their families, look after their communities, and look after themselves. So we all have the ability to do that, and we all, in our own way, do that. So thank you for your support over this very, very long time that I've been stuck with this job. And I trust and hope, and I'm sure you will give Michelle O'Neill and Mary MacDonald the same support you give me and other leaders, including Mark McGuinness, in the time past. So when you're in college, the very, very best of good luck to you. I'm not going entirely away, but I might be here again for at least 6 or 7 months. Anyway, when you're in college, and thank you everyone.
For those who don't